Senator Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee. Thank you so much for your time.
Sure.
Today marks 50 days since the start of the second Trump administration. What is your assessment so far?
When the American people voted in November, they gave a mandate that they wanted this country to change course. And President Donald Trump made promises. He is keeping those promises. And as you can see from all the polling, President Trump is highly regarded by the American people, and a majority of the American people agree with his agenda. They wanted to see the border secured, and he has done that. They want to see inflation come down, the economy get back on track. They want our standing in the world to return so that our allies know they're an ally, our enemies fear us. They want crime in communities to be addressed. They want to make certain that there are not men playing in women's sports. And on issue after issue, President Donald Trump has kept his promises, and he is working closely with the House and the Senate to make certain that we move forward on these promises.
President Trump insists over and over again that the Republican Party has become the party of common sense. What does he mean by that?
What he means by that is we look at laws and regulations as laws that should make sense, because we all know that the Constitution is in place to protect the individual's rights. And when we look at laws or proposals for legislation, one of the things I consider is, what does this do to our freedom? And some things are just common sense. We know that many of the ESG and DEI proposals from the Biden administration did not make sense to the American people. We also know that President Donald Trump has proven yet again that he and the Republican Party are the party for working people. And it is working people that are paying those taxes, and every penny the federal government spends is money that has come from a hard-working taxpayer. And it is up to us to be good stewards of that money.
Well, you mentioned President Biden, so let's talk about the Democrats for a second. They are being heavily criticized for the pushback of everything Trump says and does. Even Van Jones, the CNN commentator, recently stated, and I'm going to quote him here, that the Democratic Party is going through a massive set of internal crises. What's your make of the Democrats right now?
The Democrats are without a message. And because of that, they are not where the American people are on issue after issue. I like to say we've got a lot of issues that are 80-20 issues, meaning that 80% of Americans are for them and 20% of Americans are against these issues. Well, it seems like that whether it is tax cuts, government spending, a secure border, men and women's sports, that the Democrats are on the 20% side of that column. And they are out of step with where the American people are. That is why people are standing with us as we look at this continuing resolution to avoid a government shutdown. It is yet again the Democrats who are wanting a shutdown and pushing for a shutdown. They are doing this because they just absolutely hate President Donald Trump. And they want to stop us from reducing what the federal government spends.
They even voted against the Protection of Women and Girls Sports Act in the Senate, the legislation by your colleague, Senator Tuberville. Do you think these kind of positions will help them in the run-up to the midterms?
Oh, it's going to hurt them. And whether it's men and women's sports or voting against a continuing resolution to keep the government open, or opposing government efficiency. Can you imagine? It's not their money that government has, it's taxpayer money. And they are very upset that we are saying government should take less from its citizens and government should do more with less, and that we need to fight waste, fraud, and abuse. You would think everybody would be for fighting waste, fraud, and abuse, but not the Democrats. They are all for it. They are for spending more, therefore allowing waste, fraud, and abuse to continue because they are upset that Republicans control the House, the Senate, and President Donald Trump is in the White House.
I also want to ask you about Elon Musk and Doge. Some pollsters, for example, Frank Langs, are saying that the Americans like Doge, like its work, but not so much the way that that work is communicated. So let me ask you, why is Doge work so important and how it impacts the average American?
Yes, and what we have seen is that our national debt is upwards of $36 trillion. Every person, every citizen has $107,000 worth of debt that they would be responsible for. And what have we seen? We have seen that the Democrats don't want to cut a penny. They want to spend more, even though we have all of that debt. Now, the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, as we call it, is going through and finding the fraud, the abuse, and the waste. Take, for instance, Social Security. There are people, millions of people, that are over 110 years old that are still receiving Social Security checks. Well, we know that most of those individuals are no longer alive. You look at those that are over 125 years old or 160 years old, you're talking millions of people. We should find out who is getting that money. It should be stopped, and people that have been cashing those checks that are not theirs should be prosecuted.
Moving on to the economy, President Trump recently stated, I think in the joint session of Congress, that one of his main goals was to reduce the spending and also balance the budget. Do you think there's a possibility that we will see a balanced budget in these years?
I think it is very possible that in the next couple of years you will see a balanced budget. We would really like to get to it this year. And if we're able to achieve enough savings through DOGE, we would be able to do that. They are finding about $4 billion a day of waste from DOGE. And your audience can keep up with it at doge.gov, or also you will find it on X at the DOGE account, and they're listing everything that they find.
Let me ask you about tariff. What is your view on President Trump tariffs and their use as a bargain chip so far?
You know, what he's wanting to do is get to reciprocal tariffs. If somebody is putting a 10% tariff on us, we'll put a 10% tariff on them. And he is using tariffs to get people to the negotiating table.
So, Senator, last question. Imagine 4 years from now, January 2029, what will be that accomplishment, that legislation, or that international deal that you want to see achieved in this Trump second term?
I want to see federal spending reduced, the size of the federal government reduced. I want to see a balanced budget. I want us to get this country back on track and have a pathway to keep it on track.
Senator Blackburn, thank you so much for being with us today.
Delighted to join you. Thank you.